It's banned and restricted day, and for the first time in a while, we've got not a no changes. We've actually got changes to both Modern and Legacy. Legacy has the unbanning of a card that's been banned for the best part of 2 decades. For 20 years, Mind's Desire has been not viable because it's not been legal. Meanwhile, Preordain is one of the most powerful cantrips ever printed. It's been legal in Legacy for a long time, and they've just unbanned it in Modern. I'm going to unpack that in today's video. This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. Use the link in the description below to pick up your single or seal products, get 5% off your order, and to help support the show. And bear in mind, I have Whatnot streams all month long, and I have 2 a month ongoing. They sponsor the channel. I give stuff away. I sell bits and bobs. And if you use the link in the description below, you get £10 off your first purchase. It's eBay meets Twitch. What's not to like? Let's start by talking about Legacy, because I think it's the least exciting of the 2. I really like seeing them going in and cleaning up the plethora of things that are stuck on ban lists from times gone by. Once upon a time, Wild and Cattle was banned in Modern, and it took a long time to come off and did nothing. I'm seeing this time and time again. Wild and Cattle's a good example, Bitter Blossom, Jace, Stoneforge Mystic, Bloodbraid Elf. All of these things have seen fringe play when they came off of lists, but have never really rocked the format that they were considered to have done when they first got put onto said list. Mind's Desire is a 6-mana storm spell that allows you to cast the top card of your library when you shuffle it. It's essentially the activated ability of Modern Horizons Urza, but on a storm spell. In the Modern game, there are far better storm win cons than this. You're better off just comboing into a Tendrils, for example, to kill your opponent. My first thought is that this card will see next to 0 play in Legacy and will do nothing from being unbanned, which makes it a good unban, really, just to clear it up and get it off. There's an argument that taking things off to clean up and having the risk of breaking something is a downside, but with Mind's Desire, I think that risk is absolutely minimal. If it were to see some play, some sort of deck that's going to drain a lot of mana and like cycle its deck quite a bit, so we're talking like the 8-cast Echo of Aeons decks, or perhaps a High Tide variant of some description might utilize this, but again, I'm not really sure what you're doing with this other than getting card advantage out of it, so really, it's probably High Tide or nothing, and even then I'm not even sure if High Tide wants this. Modern, on the other hand, is a much more exciting and interesting prospect, with Pro Tour Barcelona, a Modern Pro Tour just being finished and won by Scam, a deck packing things like Furies and Griefs and all sorts of Modern Horizons nonsense. We saw the deck being incredibly powerful and I would argue a little bit oppressive, personally. I feel like creature decks aren't really valid in the format anymore because of cards like Fury, and the main deck that's playing Fury is Scam, the Rakdos Evokers, Wizards would call it, and Grief being in that deck means that it has a good combo matchup too. Preordain was originally banned because it powered up Blue X combo decks, or let's be honest, Blue-Red combo decks was the normal thing you would see. This would be both Storm and Splinter Twin, giving them a cantrip that allowed them to have powerful card selection, digging for their combo, and eventually killing your opponent. Now, both of these decks no longer exist, essentially. Splinter Twin was banned out of the format entirely, with Twin getting the ban hammer many moons ago now. I can still remember it like it was yesterday, while Storm has had multiple bans over the years, and then never really got any new game pieces. I talked about this in a video recently. It has any new pieces to enable the Storm deck, other than expressive iteration, so bringing Preordain back may give a shot on the arm to a few different decks. Blue combo decks like Blue-Red Storm, for example, would be very fun if it somehow broke that deck in half all of a sudden. Or perhaps blue control and mid-range shells to give them better card selection and better tools to fight against the current metagame. The strongest blue deck in current Modern is the Crashing Footfalls deck, which is predominantly blue-green, using Sharded Agent to cascade into Crashing Footfalls. The issue there is that a 1-mana cantrip would be cascaded into via the cascade spells, and would turn off the combo of guaranteeing yourself 2 4/4 rhinos whenever you cascade. Thus, it will see no play there. The one deck that is currently not very well positioned in the current Modern metagame this might improve is Murktide Regent, or the Blue X or Blue-Red Tempo Shells. Orcish Bowmaster does kick the shit out of all the smaller creatures, Ragavans and Dragonrage Channelers, but not the titular Murktide. Murktide itself is made better when you can cantrip fill your yard and use card selection to find the bits to fill your yard further. Bearing in mind that Murktide Regent was the best deck in the format for nearly 2 years, until we got the recent shift with things like the One Ring powering up Tron and Orcish Bowmasters powering up any deck that can play it, namely Scam. Personally, I don't like the idea of unlocking or unbanning cards that might power up an archetype that was already dominant for 2 fucking years. Somebody please tell me that the majority of people at Wizards of the Coast and the people who have input into the ban list aren't playing Blue-Red Tempo combo decks in Modern and Legacy, because every time I see a ban list across the years, I'm always wondering, who is it that's the Daze, or the Preordain, or the Ponder, or the fucking Brainstorm enthusiast over there at Wizards? I'm not being completely serious there, but it is funny that Murktide is always dodging bans and never getting muted, but then when it's not good enough to be the top dog, they're willing to unban things to buff it. Personally, I would have loved to see some other unbans here. I don't know if Twin alongside the Preordained unban is a good idea. Ultimately, I really don't think either of these bans will do anything. I think Legacy will be borderline untouched, and then Modern, which is currently Modern Horizons 2, the format, it's just block constructed for both the Modern Horizons sets really, plus Modern Horizons 2.5, which is Lord of the Rings, right? Bowmaster and Ring having huge impacts. I actually think Preordained might just power up another Modern Horizons archetype. The Ragavan Deathlight Channeler Murktide archetype, which is just another Modern Horizons archetype, which is really funny to me. Personally, I don't really enjoy casting cantrips, so Preordained being unbanned in Modern is exciting to see an old face come back, but it's not something I'm looking to really do, or to entice me back into playing the format on the regular. Meanwhile, Fury continues to make playing creatures pointless, and Orcish Bowmaster already pushed that point home. Playing Flickerwisp, playing Thaliads and stuff is just kind of a bum deal right now. So ultimately, this banned and restricted announcement doesn't really get my juices going like I hoped it would. Meanwhile, whilst I'm not playing a lot of Standard or Pioneer, I've heard bad things about the dominance of black as a colour or archetype, so again, I'm wondering why Sheoldred has dodged the bullet. Many people keep saying they expected to see it go, and it hasn't. Let me know if you think something else should have been changed in the comment section below.